So even I forget what I talked about last time. And I know that we listen to talks and we move on and it affected us, but then we kind of forget about it. And so it's always good to recover some of the territory. So in our last two sessions, last Sunday and Thursday morning, we talked about the idea that the way forward is our neighbor. And then Thursday morning, we talked about meeting help, which is an interesting phrase, and we'll get to it again later. Um, so last Sunday night, I introduced Josh Johnson, who is a young stand-up comedian. And among other things, he does other things. And he was talking about how we need one another, how we need to be neighbors for one another. And he told us that in these tough times, the way forward, and he says, I promise you, the way forward is your neighbor. And that means both being a neighbor to other people, but it's also allowing people to be a neighbor to us. So he also shared this big truth with us. He said, most people return energy. Most people give like for like. So if there is community that you want around you, all you have to do is be its founder. In other words, whatever kind of energy, emotion, way of being that you're looking for, try to be that way, and you'll automatically become the founder of that community. So Mark and I here in Portland, well, wherever we are, Mark and I like to know our neighbors. We like to be friendly. We like to be interested in people. But you know that for some people, there's a very fine line between being friendly and outgoing and being nosy and intrusive. Um, So here in Portland, all our houses are in a row and right next to each other, and we're always seeing people coming and going. And it's just natural for Mark and I to say hi and to make small talk. So last fall, a new neighbor moved in next door. And as she was moving in, we were out in the yard, we were being engaging, we were trying to be helpful, and we really got the cold shoulder, sort of like a back off thing. So, then we went home for the winter. Now we're back in the spring. And still seems like, well, there's no real interest in engaging with me. So I think clearly she wants her privacy. I was willing to give it to her and to back off, just not have to say hello. But Mark said, no, I'm not done trying. And I'm going to keep trying to interact with her. And I said, why? Let her be the way she wants to be. And he said, I want to know my neighbors. It's a good thing to know the people that you live around. So I'm going to keep trying. So he has kept trying. And luckily, there's been an icebreaker, which is that she has two really interesting cats who like to come into our yard but won't let us touch them. So we're constantly trying to interact with them too. And they don't want to interact with us either. But that's been a way that Mark has kind of been able to start talking to her. And I believe that because Mark is being open-hearted, kind, and interested, she's starting to feel trust, a little bit of trust towards Mark, and just letting him in a little bit. So we can ask ourselves, what kind of community was Mark looking for? And it's really simple. It's just the community in which People who live next to each other exchange a kind word and look out for each other. And he's willing to be the founder of that community. So he keeps trying. I wasn't. I let myself get deterred by the cold shoulder. So let's take a pause here. And if you have a journal or a piece of paper, pencil, whatever nearby, you can grab that if you want. And asking yourself, what are a few ways that you would like the environment around you to be? The question is not how do you have to make the environment around you to be? The question is, how would you like the environment around you to be? And maybe that's the environment around your house, your neighborhood, but maybe it's the environment around your car or the environment around you at work or school. Maybe it's just the environment that you want around you when you're standing in line at the grocery store. So, what kind of energy or environment would you want around you in those places? And just be with that for a few moments and listen deeply to yourself. I guess another easy question is, how would you like the world to be? Once again, asking yourself, how would you like the environment around you? How would you like the world to be? I'm not going to ask anybody to share, but I got an interesting answer from myself that surprised me, which is that I don't always want to have to put on a happy face. I want to be able to say when I'm not feeling at my best, or I'm not very happy, or I'm grumpy. So, second question. How might you be the founder of that community the way you want the world to be? And this is not an action, this is not a doing. Start with how you can be in those spaces in order to be that founder. If you want the world to be a certain place, how can you be in that place? So your ego will want to jump to an action, but just listening to your heart, how do you feel drawn to be in order to be the founder of the community you're wanting and desiring? And I actually did get a little bit of an action, but the action would be that when somebody says, "How are you?" that I don't have to say I'm fine. I can actually say I'm having a bit of a hard time if I'm having a hard time. Now, last Thursday, we talked about experiencing light and love, but through a very interesting phrase. And it's at the end of this quote that I'm going to read you from Freeney Harding, who was a community activist. She's now passed away. And she says, the Dalai Lama says, there's nothing we can't go through. The important word is through. There's nothing we can't go through. We can live through it all with compassion. I want to tell you that this spirituality of compassion, if we can call it that, can come through very ordinary people and in many, many ways. Some people go through meditation. Some people say they've seen Jesus or they've met the Buddha. However they describe it, they've met help. However they describe it, they've met help. They've met encouragement, a deep, deep encouragement in this life. Take a moment to think about where you've met help. Where you've met encouragement. So in the first part, we talked about being the founder of the community we want to form. But in this section, I want to talk about something that's much, much harder, and that's allowing yourself to be helped. Not allowing ourselves to be helped is a huge obstacle to transformation. Not allowing ourselves to be helped is fertilizer for the ego, which says, I have to do it on my own. I cannot ask for help. But even more than that, so much more than that, I can't even allow myself to be helped. So the asking for help is way out there, but the ego doesn't even want to let us be helped. And this is so wrong-headed that to me, it feels almost sinful. And you guys know I do not use the S word, the S word being sin. But this is so wrong-headed and so against everything about the heart that it almost qualifies, or probably does qualify. So meeting help, receiving help, allowing ourselves to be helped by another requires a degree of openness, a degree of vulnerability. And this is not a dangerous vulnerability where we're going to get hurt. It's the kind of vulnerability in which we open our hearts to another in order to share humanity. Our humanity, their humanity, our frailties, our tender neediness. It's what it is to be human. We need each other. Vulnerability is the bridge we walk across to connection. And if we cannot receive help, we will live our whole life in some degree of loneliness and disconnection. And I don't want to be alone. I want to live this life with everyone around me. So some of us have been well trained in being the helper. And that is not the connector. It's not the greatest connector. The greatest connection often comes from being the one who's willing to receive help. So another pause here as you contemplate. Where do you feel a need, any sort of need in your life? So maybe a place where you don't feel quite fulfilled in any way. It can be small, it can be large. Maybe along the lines of, I need more laughter in my life, or I could use some more companionship. Maybe I don't feel like I have enough real connection, or someone who truly listens to me. Maybe I need more space or physical wellness. So write down any area where you feel like you might have a need. And now as you think about what you might need, or you look at what you've written down, what happens if you just imagine? You don't have to plan to do anything at all about any of this. But what happens if you just imagine yourself being open to help in any of those areas? Open to meeting help. You don't have to ask for help. You don't have to go looking for it. What if you're simply open to the fact that if you stay open to meeting help, you might actually meet help in these areas? Just imagine that for a moment. Whatever your need is, imagining it being met by the help that is needed. What happens in your being when you imagine that? Do you feel yourself recoil from help? Can you stay open to it? Or maybe can you fully embrace it and get excited about the connection that might come from help? Whatever experience you're having around it, just hold it in your heart as we go into practice together. So I invite us to take a breath in, and as we let it out, just dropping into this moment, this very moment here. And as we take another breath in, imagining that you are a drop of love dropping into the ocean that is love, and becoming one with it. Setting this intention that this is the space in which we practice, space in which we truly meet the help of love. So just noticing whatever experience you're having in this moment, whatever is true for you now. Not judging any experience as right or wrong or good or bad, simply what is here. And then bringing your attention to your body, giving all your attention to your feet. Be feeling your feet where they come into contact with the floor, shoes, then noticing your legs, your hips, noticing your pelvis and your belly. Noticing your chest, noticing the beating of your heart. Noticing your shoulders, your arms, and your hands. Noticing your back, your head, and your face. And then noticing yourself as one whole physical being that is here now. And then naming that feeling, this is my physical presence. This is what it's like to be here in my body now. And then bringing your attention to your heart. This is our emotional center, our feeling organ. This is where those longings arise, our needs arise. Just see if you can open that part of yourself to love. Letting love be present with your desire for help or your rejection of help. Your desire to be a founder of community or your fear. Whatever is in your heart, letting love be with it. Now noticing the way that your being, your body, your heart, your spirit, your mind is all being held here in place by the force of gravity. This is not theoretical. This is real and true. You're being drawn into the earth and held here. You are not holding yourself, so you can relax. You can begin to let go. When we relax, we automatically begin to open. Open our full being. Now drawing your attention to your breath, observing the breath flow in and back out again. Just taking a moment to enjoy this very natural flow of receiving and letting go. If either one of those parts get plugged up, the whole works gets plugged up. Nothing works unless we remain in the flow of receiving and letting go. And now on the next out breath, I just invite you to follow the breath all the way out, imagining that it carries you just like a wave into a space of complete surrender, complete letting go. Just ride that wave and let it drop you into a space of simple being. Nothing to do, no thoughts needed, just being in love. As we live our lives this week, trying to hold in our mind, in our hearts, to be in this flow in which we both create community and we need the other. We need help so that we flow in that giving and receiving. This is where we'll find true connection and love. Thank you so much for practicing with me and supporting my own practice. I love you all.